Good morning, everybody. How are we doing? Everyone good? It is going to be a busy day. It's orderly. I guess busy but orderly, right? In terms of what we have scheduled today. So we're looking forward to it. And thank you for the audio and visual test. We do appreciate it. Before we get started, we do have a poll. It's just, as you guys know, these are just fun polls, right? So the poll this morning was just, the question is very simple. It was just, is it time to buy Bitcoin, right? That was the poll so far. It's 67% are saying no, or 63% no. It's changing, obviously. Let me see if I can open the poll a bit more for me so I can see it. There you go. 37% are saying yes. Very good. Okay. So we will talk a little bit about Bitcoin this morning, and we'll have a look at it, so you can kind of see what our thoughts on it are as well. Again, good morning if you're here for the first time. This is our Set the Market morning call. I'm Serge Berger from thesteadytrader.com, and we are going to spend the next let's say 15 minutes or so going through some of the things on our notepad. We are about to make some exciting changes to this Set the Market morning call, probably the week after next. I'm out next week, just so you guys know, fair warning. But when we come back the week after, I think we'd have some pretty exciting changes in terms of the way things look and feel here. So look forward to that. Again, if you're here for the first time, welcome. Please make sure you subscribe to the channel. It just allows you to be updated in real time when we go live, when we have new analysis, and when we have new communications for you in terms of markets, updates, and education and such. And please do give us a thumbs up like on all the videos, including this one here right now. It really allows us to be able to continue to do this morning call. Okay. So if you are in our ecosystem, you probably know that we are going to have a Market Rover member session in about 15 minutes over on GoToWebinar for those of you guys using our trend following methodology. And then at 11 o'clock Eastern, so that's 8 o'clock Pacific, we are doing the first day of our 3-day boot camp. We're going to do about an hour and 15 minutes or so on the first day, maybe a little bit longer the second day. But that's kind of what we're going to do today in the boot camp. We are going to be first and foremost, we're gonna remind people of the market environment. Then we're going to talk about momentum trading, and then we're going to start going into hedging, how we keep our portfolio gains. There's 3 or 4 ways we're going to show people how that could be something that they might want to look at. Then second day, which is tomorrow, we're going to talk a lot more about different strategies using options and stocks and ETFs, and also we're going to talk about hedging using options. Then on day 2 and 3, we're going to have income strategies and a whole bunch of other stuff here as well. So we're looking forward to that. If you haven't yet signed up for the boot camp, it's just $100 if you've been to one before, or $200 for all that, including an amazing indicator which will teach you over those 3 days as well. The link is in the chat box there. That is it called the chat box? Yeah, Christian just put it in. So let's get started. Okay, we have a lot to talk about, so let me see if we can get through this here over the next 10, 12 minutes or so. First of all, as a quick reminder, so you know where the performance is coming from. So year to date, we have this. These are actually industry groups. Let me just show you the sectors. I think people are a bit more familiar with sectors. But the energy sector, which we've been talking about now, to exhaustion, as you, for those of you guys that have been with us for a while, it's a big deal for us. The energy sector is leading year to date. It's up about 12% on the year. It's not going to be a linear move, I don't think, but it is up. Material stocks are close second, up almost 9.5% or so. So that's very much within the theme that we've been talking about the clients. And then you can see technology stocks are essentially flat on the year, up about 90 basis points or so. If you are a PPIS member, our income trades, we have a trade on NVIDIA, a bear call options credit spread. Just so you know, we're probably going to try to close that one today. Just as a quick FYI for those of you guys that are PPIS members. So that's what's going on here in terms of performance. Obviously, a lot more earnings coming this week, and then tech earnings are going to start, are still coming out, right? We're not yet through most of those tech earnings, so that's still very much in play. Let's flip it over to the charts, the pure charts. And when I say pure, just the absolute price action. And I just would like to, before we look at something like Palantir, which I have a lot more to say in our Market Rover member session in about 10 minutes or so, or 15 minutes, I just want to remind people that the S&P 500 continues to essentially go higher marginally, right? It's up a little bit year to date. But it's important to understand why it's not rip-roaring, right? This is very core to our thesis we've been talking about now, again, for an extensive period of time to our clients, and I think people are finally starting to kind of understand what we've been talking about now for so long. Yes, we're at the very upper end of the trading range, and yes, the S&P might go higher somewhat in the near term. However, it's important that it's mathematically, I don't want to use the word impossible, but it's near impossible or very, very difficult for the S&P to rally a whole lot without tech as leadership because of the constellation, literally just the mathematics of the S&P. So if you're S&P centrically allocated, which most of you are, you need to understand that that has a cap, right? It's going to be very difficult for it to go vertical unless tech resumes leadership, which it can. It seems unlikely, but it can. And I'll show you some reasons why it's already kind of not taking place that way. In fact, if you look at the NASDAQ 100, which is really kind of like what weighs the S&P, you can see the NASDAQ is basically more or less exactly unchanged since basically late October, so now 2 months of flat performance. Obviously, after many, many years of great performance, so this is not to poo-poo those rallies, it's just factually, because the rotation continues. Again, we'll talk a lot more about that in the boot camp at in about 2 hours from now, actually, is when we get started with day one. Again, you haven't signed up yet, you can get the link there with Christian. He put it into the questions box. Let's move on over to one specific tech stock, and I just want to quickly address this one. This is Palantir, and Palantir, actually, let me see when they report their numbers. Actually, wait, is that? They already did report their numbers. Let me see what the hell the stock is doing. Okay, this is embarrassing. I actually thought they have numbers coming up. Okay, so Palantir reported their numbers. That's right, last night. That's right. Sorry, brain fart. It's up 10%. Pre-market. Okay, so basically the stock is now trading at about where it was a couple of days ago. Okay, it really helps to kind of zoom out on a chart like this. This is a really big mover, and I think, you know, instead of just looking at the stock rallying 10% and calling it all great, let's put it into perspective a little bit where things are. So Palantir, first of all, from a trend following perspective, and this is really important, and again, we're going to talk about this more in the Market Rover member session in a minute. Palantir is now, if you look at this chart, I'm going to make this as large as possible. It's been in a bullish trend from a trend following perspective since it was trading around $11 in May of 2023, so a little bit less than 3 years ago. The stock then rallied as much as 1,700%. It's now up still about 1,300%, or it was a few days ago when it finally turned into neutral trend. Okay, neutral trend is the black background color. Again, if you're a Market Rover user, which is our trend following model, this is imperatively important to understand. So the stock is now, from a trend following perspective, neutral for the first time since the spring of 2023. So that's not quite, but almost 3 years ago. For the first time, right? Does this mean the stock's now going to fall apart and crater? That's not what it's saying. It's just telling us that the trend, the bullish trend, has paused, right? So this is important. Now, from a near-term perspective, obviously, if you're using momentum and you're using our momentum indicator, whether it's a trend ruler or even better, the trend or momentum indicator, we received a momentum sell signal that became valid on the 5th of January, and of course, the stock then dropped as much as 16%. Of course, we don't hold things through earnings reports, so the stock this morning being up through earnings wouldn't be affecting a trade like that because one would be out of it. So Palantir at a pretty critical spot. Again, we'll touch more on it in the member session in just a few minutes. I want to take this now over to Bitcoin because there is a reason we made this chart, this poll on Bitcoin. So the final numbers here are 67% of you think that Bitcoin is not a buy, and 33% think it's a buy here. So I'm going to end the poll. Here is what we are looking at when we look at Bitcoin here at this point. So there is, if I could type it in properly. As always, not a recommendation. This is purely educationally speaking, but it is critical to understand where this thing is trading right now. So both in terms of time and price, the stock has or Bitcoin itself has reached a pretty critical point. You can see what used to be, there's a lot of memory here. So what used to be resistance in March of 2024, so that's about 2 years ago, then basically became support as Bitcoin blew through that level. That's the low 70,000 level, then became a support and now becomes support again. So the 63% of you or 67% who said it's not a buy, and this is an educational session here, right, are largely thinking because it has dropped from 125,000 down to 75,000, it is not a buy, right? If you look at the structure of this market, it is actually now probably a better opportunity that's been for a long time to actually buy this. Not a recommendation, just our analysis, right? Because the price memory is there. So from a reward to risk perspective, if one were to take a stand here, if we are wrong and Bitcoin drops whatever below 70-ish thousand or whatever, then we know it's time to get out until and if we have a bullish reversal. So the reward to risk is way better now, if you will, from that perspective, because we have a very clear line in the sand than it was really at any point over the past few months, right? And of course, Bitcoin turned into bearish momentum. This is all been documented. We've talked about it here as well on our morning call here for several months when momentum turned bearish in October. In fact, we can bring that up quickly so you can see this. And we still have bearish momentum. So this is, why is it like BTC USD here? So the momentum has not changed. It's still bearish. It's just that the reward to risk is at an interesting spot here. So you can see, for example, Bitcoin was first became a sell 3 signals ago in October of 2025, of course. Then we had a little buy signal for a couple of weeks, and then another sell signal, which of course they've all reached their free profit targets. So that's how we kind of cycle through. So I'm not saying it's a buy here. It's clearly bearish momentum. It's still bearish long-term trend. But what has changed is the reward to risk factor, just based on the price memory of where we were before. And by the way, just so you know, ISM numbers, which is typically a leading indicator to the Bitcoin price, actually changed on beat on a rate of change basis yesterday. I think were the numbers. So the ISM is actually acting better. So and the forward-looking ISMs are up as well. So there's a lot of macro stuff here that speaks for potentially Bitcoin starting to rally. So anyway, just thought I would point that out. And that gets us to our 15-minute mark. Again, if you guys don't have your bootcamp tickets yet, you can still grab them. Christian has it, the link there in the chat box, and we'll see you guys back here tomorrow. If you are a market member, we'll see you in just about 5 minutes. We'll go a lot deeper into Palantir. We have a few PayPal we're going to look at, transportation stocks, all analyzing our trend following model. So we'll see you guys there. And if you're a bootcamp attendee, we'll see you in about an hour and 45 minutes at the top of the hour, 11 o'clock Eastern, 8 o'clock Pacific. Thanks so much. Please give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you guys back here tomorrow. Take care.